Hello, my name is Harris, and I'm going to talk about why I'm bald. Welcome back to the Harry Not So Harry podcast. I have to tell you guys that every time I put my wig back on for my intro, it feels really strange, even though I've literally worn wigs for the majority of my life. I digress. Today, we're going to talk about what it was like having alopecia being really young and how alopecia was for me in middle and high school. So, I touched on this a little bit back when I did my story episode, the first episode that I had, but I want to go into a little bit more depth. So, we'll start with middle school. So, if I had to describe what it was like having alopecia in middle school in one word, I would describe it as terrifying. It's not even like anyone in particular really made it terrifying for me. It's really just that I think I made it just terrifying for myself. Because alopecia was just this really huge secret of mine, and I always kept it hidden, and I didn't want anybody to know about it. I walked into school every day just terrified and just really scared that somebody would figure out my secret. And for some reason, that just felt like the worst possible thing that could have ever happened to me at the time. And I was always just really self conscious about my wigs. And my mom would always buy me the most beautiful wigs, like in a bunch of different styles and colors. And to school, I would only wear the same one, maybe two wigs, because I didn't want anyone to become suspicious that I was, changing up my hair too much. Like, how does she have braids on a Monday and then straight hair on a Tuesday and then back to braids again on a Wednesday? I just didn't want anybody to know. I just didn't want anybody to know that I didn't have my hair growing out of my head. And for the most part, I feel like I did a pretty good job concealing that I didn't have any hair. I mean, nobody ever really asked me about it or anything, so I always thought that I was doing the right thing. And as I've gotten a little older, I've kind of seen this to be like not the best coping mechanism because although I originally just wanted to hide it from the world, in doing that, I was also hiding it from myself. And my 13-year-old brain also was believing that I didn't have alopecia. So I was just hiding and running away from the fact that I had alopecia with the wigs. And that's not the best way to cope with something. Although I do believe that that was the best way that I could have handled it at the time, especially because I was still super new to having alopecia. If I could go back in time, I do think that I would have tried to handle it a little bit differently and maybe tried to come to terms with it at first, because then maybe I wouldn't have even wanted to wear the wigs. So I kind of behaved the same way while I was playing all the sports that I did throughout middle and high school. And I didn't always acknowledge that I was wearing a wig. So I remember vividly one day while in the middle of a soccer game, my wig actually completely came off. And I just remember picking it up and putting it back on and praying that nobody was looking at me and went about my day. So it's times like that when not believing that I had alopecia was actually kind of beneficial. But in the long term, I wouldn't recommend just ignoring it. Now, in high school, the majority of people knew that I had alopecia by this point, and I still did hide behind the wigs, but I was a little bit more carefree about the style I was going to wear of the day and I didn't care so much about having braids one day and not the next. Having alopecia in high school was also a little bit of a roller coaster for me because due to the treatments, my hair actually did grow back twice. So even having just like the little short afro in high school was a little bit of a struggle because it's just not societal norms. And I really do believe that that's another beautiful part about alopecia, or really anything, is that you kind of pick and choose your own story and you can kind of do things at your own pace and when you're ready. I will say though that I think embracing alopecia and not wearing the wigs and being comfortable talking about it has made the process a little bit easier for me because I don't feel like I have this huge weight of a secret on my shoulders, and I feel like I can be more authentic. But as much as I wish that I would have stopped wearing wigs sooner than I did, I don't think that high school me was ready for that just yet. So, my advice to those of you who have alopecia would be to do what feels right for you and don't feel pressured by anybody else's journey. I'm very proud of where I am today with my journey, and I just know that I wouldn't have been able to do this or even get to this point without support from others. So I just really want to give back and let everybody with alopecia know that hair really just doesn't define you and it's not the end of the world, and you can figure out something that works best for you. Thank you all so much for watching. That's all I have for today. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next week. Bye.